Kelly. Okay, we got some fun Portland City trivia here for you. Did you know that this year marks the 50th anniversary of one of the most influential city plans in Portland's history?
Yeah, that's right. The 1972 downtown plan created a vision that helped Portland become an international icon for urban planning. And joining us in the studio to tell us more about this historic plan and its influence on the city today, Professor Ethan Seltzer with Portland State University. Good morning.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Yeah, good to have you here. Well, tell us, let's start with the basics. What is the 1972 downtown plan and what was it supposed to do?
Well, you got to kind of go back to 1972 and realize that at that point in time, American cities were really at a crossroads, literally speaking. They were trying to kind of suburbanize themselves. Portland made a different choice. And in the 1972 plan, what it decided to become was a people-oriented place. Not a car-oriented place, but a people-oriented place. And so a lot of the things that we think have always been part of downtown Portland, like Pioneer Square, Tom McCall Waterfront Park, the Performing Arts Center, these were all just ideas back in 1972. None of that existed. And so it's actually quite exciting, well, for me, but I think probably for most people, to walk around downtown and realize that it's constantly been in flux and changing. And a lot of that change stemmed from what people put on paper in 1972.
Yeah, I think it is really interesting to kind of sit down and take a look at, what was the thought and some of the planning that went into the way that we grew as we did. So how was Portland State kind of involved back then?
Well, it's a really interesting story. Back in 1972, the 1972 plan actually gave Portland State a specific assignment. It said you should be our urban university, not because you're here in the downtown, which of course it was, but because of the relationship Portland State would have with the city and the communities around it.
Interesting.
And, yeah, it's really interesting. And Portland State really joined with the city in a lot of ways to apply what, the resources of the university, the ideas and the knowledge that were coming out of the students and the faculty there, to the needs of the city and to the development of downtown. Portland State's an interesting place. It's not just a university, it's also a major landowner in downtown. It owns about 54 square blocks of downtown Portland. It brings literally tens of thousands of people into the downtown core every day. So it's been a kind of a major partner, major player, and a major beneficiary of the way in which downtown evolved.
Over the course of the years, have there been any adjustments to the 1972 downtown plan? And what do we see today that kind of harkens back to the original plan?
Right, really good question. And as a matter of fact, in the mid-1980s, the city of Portland realized that downtown kind of functions were beginning to spread further than what was then considered to be the downtown, the area on the southwest side of the city within the freeway loop. And so it created in 1988 something called the Central City Plan, which really expanded things out beyond what had been downtown at that point. And I think since then, the city has had its eye on the fact that downtown as the center of the region and really as the most developed place in the entire Columbia River watershed, was an important spot, a unique spot, and would continue to grow and evolve over the years.
Yeah, that Central City Plan kind of harkened to the Lloyd District.
Oh, it brought the Lloyd District
Yes.
in, it brought what is now South Waterfront in. All of what you see now in South Waterfront was kind of imagined in a way back in 1988. But it really didn't materialize until the 2010s.
So interesting. And we find ourselves kind of at a particular crossroads here on this 50th anniversary at a time when Portland's downtown core has really taken a hit, the last couple of years with COVID. As we look to the future of urban planning for the city, where do we go from here?
Boy, it's a really good question. I think one of the things that's so apparent to all of us is that the future of the workplace is really a huge question now. There used to be 100,000 people a day who would come into downtown to go to work and then would go home at night. And that huge kind of movement of people in and out of downtown, enabled restaurants to exist, it enabled, retailers to exist, suppliers, all kinds of things. Well, COVID kind of turned that off. It was like a flip of a switch or a turn of a faucet or something. And now I think the question is, well, what will the future of these workplaces be? Will downtown still be that kind of place where 100,000 people come in and go to offices? Or, You know, frankly, I think a lot of people are finding working at home is pretty special. Yeah.
Yeah, and what happens to those office buildings as well,
Well,
including buildings like ours, like the
Huge
Coy Tower.
question. Well, it's a huge question. I think it's going to be an exciting kind of time for the city to think that through, and hopefully Portland will do what Portland has done in the past, which is to not accept the conventional wisdom and to experiment.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, I think we'll come up with some great ideas. I think people in Portland will bring some great ideas to the table, and we'll do something that the world's never seen.
Well, I have a feeling that city planners will likely be calling on some of the minds at PSU for some input
Yes.
and some ideas in that process. PSU Professor Ethan Seltzer, thank you so much for joining us. Really
Thanks for having me.
fascinating
Appreciate it.
conversation. Yeah. And if you want to learn more about Portland State University's involvement in the 1972 downtown plan and how that has evolved into today, you can go to their website. Go to pdx.edu. It is 7